Sammy, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Nice to have you on. Obviously, you've relocated now from Devon to Oldham. Before we get into the Liverpool side of things, why have you moved to Oldham?
So I started fighting when I was 11 years old, and I did that at a gym in Devon. I then competed in Muay Thai for many, many years, and then it got to a point where I wanted to make it my job. So I quit my job back home, but there just wasn't that many opportunities. So I realised that I had to make the move up north. So then I ended up moving to Leeds, and then I got approached whilst I was in Leeds training Muay Thai, and then asked if I'd like to box on the Mayweather undercard at the O2 Arena. So I ended up boxing, and then after my boxing fight, I got approached with a development contract from the PFL, asking if I'd transfer into MMA because they just liked my aggressive style of fighting. So then I made the move to Manchester top team. So then I've moved across to Oldham now.
Wow, so it's some journey so far, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty bad. Yeah.
Well, speaking of the fighting and the aggression, then what made you get into fighting in the first place?
So we had a family friend and she was doing it, and then she was UK #1, so she went professional at 13, which is crazy. And then she went on to be UK #1, held that for years, world titles. She got signed to Glory Kickboxing, but she got forced into retirement. So that's sort of why I also moved as well, because she was my training partner and it just fell through. So then I felt a bit lonely. So
that's fair enough. So obviously you've just said there you've made your was it your debut on the undercard?
Yeah, so my boxing debut on the Mayweather undercard.
What was that experience like? Obviously, first of all, to make your debut in boxing must have been daunting, but then obviously on probably one of the greatest, if not the greatest boxer of all time, to be headlining it. How was it?
Yeah. So coming from Muay Thai, there's no money in it. There's no nothing. Everybody just fights for the sake of it, just because they love it. So to go from that, where you just turn up to a weigh-in and then it's like, right, see you tomorrow and you fight, like the whole build-up. So it's like, right, we'll get you put in a hotel on Tuesday. We'll do media. We'll do interviews. We'll do press conference. And like I was sat there and I was trying to get into the hotel and they were like, no, sorry, you're not allowed in. I was like, I'm a fighter. And they were like, no, sorry, you're not allowed in. And I was like, I'm fighting. And they were like, what's your name? I was like, that's my picture on the thing, like next to Mayweather. And they were like, oh, okay, come on through. So it was just so intense, but I loved every second of it. But yeah, it was crazy. Like I've never fought in a bigger stadium than anything. So literally the O2 Arena, and it was jam-packed for Mayweather as well, which was incredible.
Well, obviously there's a big mad scene at the moment, isn't he, with YouTubers and things like that going on. What did you think of Mayweather fighting a Geordie Shore I wouldn't even say a character, a Geordie Shore person anyway?
To be fair, he's been one of the better ones that he's fought, because obviously he fought just basic YouTubers. But at least Aaron, like he's been in and he's done MMA and he turned pro in boxing as well. So at least he had a bit of like substance behind him. So I think I was probably on one of the better cards compared to like the actual YouTubers.
What are your actual thoughts on the YouTubing scene? Obviously, you can't say too much because, you know, the money might be there one day and you get offered it. So, but what's the persona within the sport?
See, I like it because everybody, like, from a fighting point of view, fighters are like peed off because they're getting so much money. But I said to them, it's like an entertainment thing. It's like they build up their brand, their fan base, and then they make it into like this big old story. And that's why there's so much like trash talking and things like that. And it's a younger audience for YouTubers and they love it. They're buzzed off it. But I was saying to people, it's a different game, because I've been to some of these YouTuber events and it's fully packed from the moment the fight show starts. But whereas you go to like an AJ boxing fight, and like it will slowly build up over time and then it'll be like full for his fight at the end. But yeah, it's crazy. They'll be banging on the doors like trying to get in, and we're like, no, we're not open yet. Like you have to wait. But they're screaming for the YouTubers. It's crazy.
Yeah, just as you mentioned that, I've been to so many big fights over the years, and the undercard always sort of lets it down, doesn't it? There's one or two fights maybe that you go, yeah, I'll get in for that. But then it always seems to be the headline event. So is that because of the actual, let's say, the likes of Matchroom, let's say, when Eddie Hearn makes these cards, is it a case of him getting these fights and the matchups? Because what I tend to find is most boxing events are all one-sided for the first few fights, just to seemingly get numbers up.
Yeah, see, where Thai boxing and MMA are very different. With boxing, they have to protect their zero. It's just it's some sort of weird mindset. So they're like, I can't lose because as soon as that zero goes, I'm a nobody. So for their undercards, they usually build it up and build it up, but until they get into the bigger fights. But whereas like Thai boxers and MMA people, they'll fight every weekend if they could. And if it's a loss, it's like, oh, I'll be in the gym on Monday. It's no biggie.
Well, that's it. I follow MMA more than I follow boxing. I used to follow boxing massively, but I feel like it kind of went a bit downhill, whereas the MMA scene in Britain just went massive, didn't it?
Yeah.
And obviously the fights, like you said, if someone gets KO'd, it doesn't matter because they're out 6 months later anyway. They're going to be fighting again, and there's a chance to get back up there ranked again. So you're known as the Ghetto Cinderella.
Yeah.
Mad name to come up with, but where did it come about?
So I was in the car driving, and then we just had Spotify playing. But you know where it's like you can get new songs like just shoved into your playlist on random. A song came on, and it was called Ghetto Cinderella, and it was basically talking about like glass slippers and like she beating you up and things like that. And then the guy who was with me, he was like, "You're a Ghetto Cinderella," and I was like, "No, I'm not." And he was like, "No, that's such a good name." And then I like said it to a few people, like, just get the feelers out, and everybody's like, "Nah, that's sick, that's sick." So then it sort of stuck from them, just because of like the juxtaposition of my life. Like I love getting dolled up, like hair, makeup, everything. But then like once I get into the gym, like I'm swinging for the hills.
Yeah, I'm going to come into that in a bit. I find that mad how you do it. Well, so in February, you announced you've signed to PFL, Professional Fighters League, for anyone who doesn't know about that. What's the ambition in the PFL? How far do you want to take it?
So I still think it's pretty crazy to me that I just got offered it, but they said they were keeping tabs on me and they were watching my fights. And then obviously I got announced for the boxing, and they watched that and they saw like how aggressive I was. And they said like, because they're not well known, but like they're trying to bring exciting fights in, and they want to bring like people like me who are aggressive, who move forward, who go for the knockout. They want to bring people like that in. So they do like development contracts. So I'm signed. I was meant to have a fight this weekend actually, but that fell through. But we'll probably get onto that. And then hopefully I'm fighting in December. And then I've signed, if all goes well in December, I'm signed to fight in the Europe League. So then if I fight and win, I get put through to the next round. And then the winner of that tournament wins 100 grand. So yeah, PFL look after their fighters so well. There's no locked in for sponsors. They help you get sponsors. They like build you up as a brand. So for me, this is what I moved for. Like I didn't move away from my family and friends just to say like no to these opportunities. Like they've literally just handed me my dream life on a plate, so I'm just going to grab it with both hands. But my dream, I've always said that I want to win world titles in Muay Thai and boxing, and now I've started MMA, so I've just been like, right, we'll do it in all three then. So I'll win a world title in Muay Thai, boxing and MMA. But PFL were like so nice with it, so they're like, well, we'll keep you signed with us, and then we'll get you the fights to get the world titles, and then you can build your brand alongside us. So you wouldn't be able to get that in the UFC or anything like that, which is crazy.
That's what you want to hear, though, innit? You want to have a path, and you want to be able to do what you want to do as much as what they want to do.
Yeah, and it keeps both people happy. So it's a win-win situation.
Yeah. So obviously, like you've just touched on then, you recently announced that you was out of the Paris card due to melanoma, which is obviously something I've mentioned to you about. I've witnessed firsthand the seriousness of it. For anyone who doesn't know what melanoma is, it's a form of skin cancer. How early did you find it, and how did you find
it? So pretty early on, but I have these things where like I know when the universe is like looking after. I'm like very spiritual in that way. Like I think things happen for a reason. And I'm a proper girly girl. I always get my nails painted, things like that. So if anybody doesn't know, toenail varnish stays on for months. Like, them bad boys just don't chip, but mine did. And I can't help myself, but I just picked it off. And then I saw this like black little thing, and I was like, what is that? So then curiosity got the better of me. So I started peeling all my nail varnish, and then there was just like a blob of something on my toe. So I was like, oh my God, what is that? So then I went and checked on the other foot as well. And then there was something similar on that foot. So I was like sending a few pictures around. I was like, what is this from? Because like, with fighting, everybody's like, oh, it's probably just a bruise. Like, it's just a bruise. But there's just something inside of me that was just like, no, this is not a bruise, because like, you know what bruises look like on your feet. So ended up going to the doctors, took a bit away, and then sent it back, and it came back abnormalities. So to be fair, the NHS is pretty good with it. Like, it was a quick turnaround, but like, it scared me so much, because they basically sat me down and they were like, right, you're going to get given an appointment. It's like within 2 weeks, and it's basically life or death. And I was thinking, oh my God, I didn't tell my family either, because they're such warriors and they live 7 hours away. Like, my mum and dad would have got in that car and just driven up there and then. So like, I was doing it all by myself really. And then ended up going in, and then they took my toenails basically off and then got it all out. So that just put a stop on all my kicking and grappling and things like that. So, but it is what it is. Caught it quite early. But my family's got quite a big history of like skin cancer and things. So
Really?
yeah. So when people are like, oh my God, was that really scary? It was like, it was, but in my mind, it was always a when I'm going to get it, not if I'm going to get it. So I just had quite a positive mindset that I would just like get it sorted, get it gone, and then just carry on my life.
Yeah, and in terms of going forward, what have they said is the, let's say, routine for you now? Have you got to go every 6 months, every year? What is it?
Yeah, so I've just got to keep checks. They said things like that, like usually it goes away, but like I have to just keep check on moles and things like that, because it could just like be something within me. It could be genetic. But they said like sometimes things do grow and like they're benign. So
Yeah, and in terms of you, has it changed anything for you in terms of like how you are as a person? Are you taking things less for granted, let's say, and focusing on yourself even more now?
yeah, I had this basically like epiphany, and I was like, whilst I was going through that, I said to my friend, I want to be a mother. And I was like, I want to be a mum. I said, I'm going to have to stop fighting at 30 and be a mum. And they were like, what are you talking about? And I was like, I'm going to have to be a mum. But that's basically the only thing that I've really had happen to me.
Yeah. Okay, so you've been cleared to fight again, which is brilliant news for you. Also the PFL and obviously your gym where you're training at. Are you hoping to be on a Dublin card? Is that likely to happen?
Yeah, I'm pushing for them to sort an opponent after they finish with the Paris card, and then hopefully we can get into a proper fight camp with the right mindset and then push through to that one.
Good. How was it being back in the gym?
So good, but God, it's hard work with them guys in there. They're lethal, so it's like being put in a shark tank.
Yeah, I've noticed on your punching, by the way. Bloody hell. Okay, moving on to something which seems to have taken over quite a lot of the internet, and obviously it works well for you, let's be honest. OnlyFans, it must have been a management nightmare for you to begin with.
Yeah. I don't think, like, obviously OnlyFans has got like a bad rep to it, just because of like some of the people that it's produced. But I quite like it because it gives me a platform to, like, most of my OnlyFans people join live streams and they message me about fighting. So it's like they want that connection with me, because I can't give that to people on my Instagram or Twitter, because my DMs are shut off. Like, my management like deal with all of that sort of stuff. So it's like the only way they can contact me and talk to me directly about fighting is through there. But it goes hand in hand. Like, everybody's like, oh yeah, well, if you wanted that, like, why do they pay for it? And it's like, well, they have to pay for it because I can't talk to everybody, because that defeats the objects of shutting my DMs down on Instagram and Twitter. But it funds my fight career. Like, if you don't fight, you don't get paid, and fighting is an expensive job / hobby. So a lot of people are still having to work full-time jobs whilst training alongside just to pay for their fight career. So by doing OnlyFans, it gives me the freedom. I train like 2 to 3 times a day, and not many people can say they do that, but that's because of the people through OnlyFans and like on my social media where I've like been able to like promote products for money and things like that. That's what it's paying for. It's paying for my fight career. But I think even when I make enough money through fighting, I think I'll probably still keep it, because I actually love talking to people about fighting. Like, I'll talk about fighting all day long. So,
well, in terms of, you've just mentioned there your fighting career, and it's an expensive thing to do. I imagine training 2 to 3 times a day, and then obviously the nutrition side and coaching side of things. Is that where the expense comes in?
yeah, it's a lot of like little expensive. So with my training, because I'm professional, once I fight, I have to give my management a percentage. I have to give my coaches a percentage. I have to pay my nutritionist. I have to pay my strength coach. I have to pay my boxing coach. It's like loads of little things, like my petrol, my rent, and just buying food. Like, I pay for my nutritionist and I have to buy the food on top. So yeah, it's crazy. And I'm trying to do like work alongside it. So it just takes up a whole lot of time and energy. So,
well, what did your family think of you starting OnlyFans to begin with?
so my mum and dad are very carefree people. So they got a lot of stick for it when I started, and because people were coming up to them like, "Do you know what your daughter's doing?" And then my mum and dad were like, "Yeah." So like, they didn't really care. They're like, "Well, she's over the age of 18. Whatever she does on OnlyFans, like, she does. That's up to her." But mum and dad know I'm not going to get stupid with it. So
Yeah. Okay. So what's the weirdest request you've had?
God, way
Must be
too
a
many.
list.
Farting in a jar, burping in a jar, bath water. The boys in the gym are desperate for me to do this one as well. So a guy keeps on messaging me saying, "I really want to massage your feet straight after training." And I said, "No, that'll be like, that's in the gym." Like, and he was like, "No, I really want," like, he's into oh my God, I don't know the word, but like belittling. So he's like, "I want all the boys stood there whilst I'm massaging your feet, like telling me like I'm an idiot." And all the boys, like, and he's like, "I'll pay for it. I'll pay you £200 for me to come to the gym." And the boys are like, "Do it." Like, because they can't wait to see someone in the gym, and they get to give him piss for it. So yeah, I keep on saying no to that one, but the boys are like, "Do it, do it, do it."
We'll wait until you're desperate.
Yeah, if that goes
200.
online, that means my rent's due and I need to get some money.
Oh, keep an eye out for that one, everyone. So, like I said to you at the start of this section, how do your management feel about it all then? Do they, obviously I imagine there's all sorts of contracts and stuff you have to agree to. Do they have restrictions on what you're actually doing?
So me and my manager, so I have a couple of managers, but like my main contact manager, he's pretty chill with everything. Like, he loves putting my personality across, because he said, like, you go to some managements and they're so strict, and it's like, basically they're forming people into robots. And it's like, especially on Twitter, I love to take the piss. Like,
I've noticed.
so like, I'll give it back as good as I get. Whereas like, if I was with another management, they would be like, "Take that down now, you'll lose brands." But I seem to be gaining followers quickly and like a fan base, and people seem to be like, "Oh my God, like, I love the way you talk to people online. Like, I'm going to buy a ticket for your fight." And he's like, "That's what we want. We want fans. Like, we want your personality to come across." So he's not too asked with it, but there's some times where a tweet goes like viral, and then it's like news articles, and like people are sending it to him, and it's like, Sammy-Jo Luxton says she'll poo on someone's chest or something like that. And I said, "I swear that is not how it seems." And he's like, "I've seen the tweet." And I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, can you just not help yourself sometimes? Is that what it is?
No, I think my hands type before my brain actually processes. And as soon as I press send, I've got notifications turned off. So like, I'll go and do the dishes, and then I'll come back, and then it'll be like 99 plus notifications. I'm like, "What have I done?" And then I've got my manager like, "That tweet is popping off." And I was like, "Oh no."
What was the first one that sort of, let's say, blew up? Because obviously Sammy-Jo, you come from Devon up to Manchester, you mixing in between different sports, let's say martial arts, boxing, Muay Thai. What was the tweet or the moment you thought, right, okay, it's hitting big now?
So it wasn't actually me that started all of this. So it was some guy that was just like watching fights on YouTube, saw one of my fights, went over to my Instagram, and then saw basically me dressed up. And then there was a picture of me covered in blood. Like I broke my nose in 2 places and it came away from the skull. Like it was just a mess. And he put them 2 pictures up, and he was like, "Holy shit, get a girl that can do both." And my Instagram was going crazy, and I was like, I've just gained 1,000 followers in 10 minutes, and I was saying to my housemate, I've been hacked. So I'm like trying to like lock down my Instagram, and then people are sending me messages like, "Lol, just see you on Twitter." I don't have a Twitter account. I was like, I'm not on Twitter. What have I done? So me and my housemate like trying to get on her Twitter account, and then she's like, "Oh my god, it's got 4 million views." And I was like, "When was it posted?" She was like, 2 hours ago. And I was like, oh no. So then I retweeted it as well. And I think that must have like just boosted it up. Yeah. And then, obviously I can't help myself. So I'm replying to like nasty comments and me being like, all right, like giving it back to them. And then those started like going up. And then it was someone said I would pay for her to pull on my chest. And I said, I'll do everything for the right price. Like just a throwaway comment. And then my mum sent me a news article, and it was like rising star Sammy-Jo Luxton. I was like, oh no. And mum was like, my work better not see this. I was like, all right.
And what? It's too late now.
But yeah, like things like that just open doors. And it's like with the influence of boxing, it's as soon as you get into that market, like, it's crazy. Like, and people have become fans just from that one tweet. So it can show what one thing can just change your life.
Yeah. Is there anyone in terms of boxing, Muay Thai, or MMA that you actually look up to and want to model your game on? Or is there someone that you look up to and think, I want to be like them, but in my own way?
Well, so my family friend, she was glory champion, world champion. So I always look up to her and just try and replicate what she did, because she was 13 years old when she went pro. And then she was knocking women out at 13, and she was just so humble with it. She's the nicest person you could ever meet, and I want to be like that. Like, because you see fighters and they get to the top and they get a proper ego about them. It's like, bought off, like you're nobody, and they think they're so much better than everybody else. And I just don't want to be like that. Like, I just want to fight, go home and chill with my family and friends, and then make a few little shitty comments on Twitter. That's what I want to do.
Sounds perfect. Okay, let's talk a little bit about Liverpool then. I noticed the tweet you put out, which is why I've obviously got in touch with you, about which shirt should you buy, 66 or number 8, Szoboszlai or Trent. What did you go with, first of all?
I went for number 8. But I think I'm going to have to buy one of the away shirts, because I do like those, so maybe I'll get Trent on that one.
Szoboszlai is just ridiculous, though, isn't he? He's like carved out of Greek gods.
Oh yeah, my dad, he follows like all the Facebook and all that sites, and he's like, "Oh, new Gerard, and then he was saying that, and I was like, "What are you talking about?" And then all of a sudden, it was just like.
So, where did the love for Liverpool come about? Obviously, you've just mentioned your dad.
Yeah, well, I probably shouldn't say this because I get a lot of stick for it. But when I was younger, so my mum and both sets of grandparents are United supporters. Yeah, dad is Liverpool. So when I was younger, because there was more of them, I just drifted to Man U. I had the full Man U bedroom. Like, I'm not even kidding. Carpet, curtains, duvet, the lot. And then Mum said that dad must have been just chirping in my ear, or like I've just been watching dad watch the football and then just like started to pick up on him. And I sat my mum and dad down. I went, right, I think I've grown out of the Man U room. And mum went, oh, what do you want? And I was like, a Liverpool one. And mum went, over my dead body. So I wanted Liverpool and mum did not. So we compromised and I got Groovy Chick. So
Wow.
that's what happened. But since then, like from that point, I made the switch. I was young. I think I was like 8 or something. So when I tell people, yeah, I made the switch, and they're like, ugh, I'm like at 8 years old, and they're like,
Yeah.
okay, I can accept that.
You don't even know what you want for your breakfast at 8, do you? So
yeah, no.
Okay. Do you follow it much now? Are you big behind the team, and what have your thoughts been so far?
So I was more so like a bigger follower back when I was younger, and lived at home because like dad would always have it on. Like, so even if I was doing something, it'd be on in the background. But over the years, like with fighting, like I'm always training, like I'm away on the weekends, so it's hard to try and catch it. But like I do follow it, like I've got all the notifications on, I always keep up with it. But yeah, I just have a good feeling about this season as well. It's probably touch wood wherever that is, but yeah, like I just get this feeling, like when you're watching it and you just get like a little goosebumpy. I'm like, yes, like this is it. This is a good feeling. Like I've got that this year.
I'm with you. I just kind of feel like it's one of them. No one really expects us to challenge, and I think that's going to happen. But like you've just elaborated on there, when you're a fighter, 99% of your time's training, the rest of it's trying to find time for yourself, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what people like. A lot of people on Twitter are like, so have you been to Anfield? It's like, mate, I don't have time to get over there. So, but yeah, everybody, well, obviously links back to the OnlyFans. Like a lot of the OnlyFans girls are like on the football scene, but like fake fans, like you can just tell they're fake fans. And it's like every time someone's like, fake fan, I just slap them with the photo. I'm 9 years old, I've got Umbro shorts on, and I'm holding it outside like that, and they're like, oh, all right.
So I imagine you've seen this Astrid Wet on Twitter then.
Yeah, so well, and I keep on seeing that Bella, which is her best friend, which is now surprisingly a United fan. So I was a bit like, right.
Yeah, and what are your thoughts on that? Because I like the fact that obviously you're a Liverpool supporter, but you're not trying to push that into people's face. You're doing it your own way.
Yeah, when I joined Twitter, and I was a bit like, I don't really like obviously want to tweet about it and things like that, but obviously with the likes of people like that, I don't want to make it seem like I'm just like forcing it on people, because then I know that I'll just get backlash for no apparent reason. So that's why I keep like posting about it to a minimum. So yeah, I'm not really a fan. Like it just shows that you're boring and you have no thing to actually talk about other than football.
But I think
fake football.
Yeah, exactly. I think a lot of people has actually paid to see you kick their head in.
Probably, yeah. Yeah, I have had a lot of things like that. Yeah, can you just punch her off? I'm like, mate, I would if I could.
Oh, okay. Well, let's call it a pod there. I've took enough of your time up from your busy schedule. So I just want to thank you for coming on and like sharing your story and obviously everything that you've had going on the last few months. I can't even imagine your head's probably being so far up your own arse you don't know where to look. So it's it's been nice to meet you. Of course it has, and I wish you
thank you for having me on.
No, it's been a pleasure. But good luck getting onto this card in Dublin. And
yeah, I'll definitely be posting stuff about it. So
all right, well, thanks very much.
All right, thank you very much.
Speak to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.